Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into a centuries-old puzzle today, one that feels like it's straight out of a history book, but with a dash of, well, mystery. The Voynich Manuscript.
You got that right. And our listeners have sent in a ton of stuff about it. Articles, research, even a snippet of a lecture. It's like they're as captivated by this book as we are.
Absolutely, and for good reason. Fantastical plants, star charts that seem to be mapping a different sky. It's almost like we've stumbled upon a message from another world. But here's the catch. We can't understand a word of it.
That's the crux of it, isn't it? It's like finding a message in a bottle, but the language is utterly alien.
Exactly. So where do we even begin with something like this? What makes the Voynich Manuscript so unique?
Well, for starters, it's a physical book, not just some legend. It actually exists, housed in Yale University's Beinecke Library.
Okay, so no need for a National Treasure-style heist to get a peek. But what are we dealing with? Physically, what is the Voynich Manuscript?
Imagine a book about the size of a paperback you'd read today, but the pages are vellum, which is calfskin, and they've been carefully prepared for writing.
Calfskin? Wow.
Yeah, it's estimated to be from the early 15th century, so it's old, and it's got about 240 pages, though there are signs that some pages might be missing, and it's been rebound a few times over the centuries.
So it's seen its fair share of history. But let's get to the heart of the mystery. We've got this book, it's old, it's intriguing, but we can't read a single word.
And that's what makes it so fascinating. This isn't your average lost language situation. We're talking about a script that uses about 25 unique characters.
Simpler than a lot of alphabets, then.
Simpler, yes. But unlike anything we've seen before, the characters are mainly formed with these fluid pen strokes. And while it doesn't match any known language, the way those characters repeat, their patterns, they resemble natural language.
Hold on. So it looks like language, acts like language, but it isn't any language we know.
You got it.
Talk about a head-scratcher. That's both incredibly exciting and incredibly frustrating. Someone, somewhere, must have tried to decipher it right.
Oh, you bet. We're talking centuries of cryptographers, linguists, historians, even computer scientists have taken a crack at the Voynich Manuscript. Some have even claimed victory, said they've cracked the code. Let's just say those claims haven't exactly held up under scrutiny.
So what gives? Have they tried like the classic code-breaking stuff?
Yeah.
Frequency analysis, right? Seeing how often certain symbols pop up compared to known languages?
Oh, yeah. They run the gamut. And while the frequency patterns in this Voynich haze, as some call it, do have similarities to languages we know, the symbols themselves, no dice, they don't line up with any known writing system.
Okay, I'm no code breaker, but it sounds like we're dealing with more than just a substitution cipher. So if it's not a code, what are we looking at? What are the leading theories? Don't tell me it's aliens.
Probably not aliens. But the theories we do have are pretty wild. Some think it might be a super complex shorthand system, maybe a scholar's personal code.
Okay, a secret code, I can get behind that. What else?
Others suggest something called steganography.
Steganography. No, there's a word I haven't heard in a while. Refresh my memory, what was that again?
It's basically the art of hiding a message within another message. So, like, hiding a secret message within plain sight.
Whoa! That's next-level spy stuff. But wouldn't that be insanely difficult to do, especially back then on vellum, with a quill and ink?
You're not wrong. It'd be incredibly tough, and to be honest, there isn't a clear pattern of that sort in the Voynich Manuscript.
Back to the drawing board, then.
Well, some even think it's a hoax.
A hoax? You mean like a very elaborate, very old joke?
Basically. Some scholars speculate it was crafted to deceive wealthy patrons back in the day. You know, make a quick buck off someone fascinated by the unknown.
Okay, I can kind of see that. Especially when you consider guys like Emperor Rudolph II, who, if I remember correctly, had a thing for alchemy, the occult.
True. Rudolph II was definitely drawn to the esoteric.
So maybe this whole manuscript plays into that, a connection there, perhaps.
It's possible, but the sheer complexity of the script, the way it holds together internally, it doesn't quite fit the profile of a simple money-making scheme.
So not a hoax, but something far stranger.
It would seem so. It's a mystery for the ages, that's for sure.
And as if the script wasn't puzzling enough, we've got the illustrations. And those aren't exactly lacking in the weirdness department, are they?
You said it. Plants that look like they're straight out of a botanist's fever dream, star charts that make you question if we're even looking at the same night sky.
Okay, so walk me through those illustrations. What's the deal with them?
Well, take the plants, for instance. Some of them do bear a resemblance to plants found in those old medieval herbals, you know, the books they used for medicine and whatnot.
Right.
But then you've got these other plants that seem, well, almost like hybrids. Exaggerated features, parts combined in ways you just wouldn't find in nature.
So, like the artist had a vague understanding of botany, but then decided to let their imagination run wild. Or maybe they were seeing things, real plants, but from some far-off land. Places Europeans hadn't even explored yet.
Now, that's an interesting thought, isn't it? And it's a theory some researchers have tossed around that the manuscript might be documenting flora from a region unknown to Europeans at the time. But then that begs the question, what language are they documenting it in?
Good point. Okay, so what about those illustrations of women bathing? They look like they're in these elaborate pools, almost like an ancient spa. But something tells me it's not as simple as that.
You're right to be skeptical. It's definitely not your average spa day scenario. Some scholars think it might relate to early therapeutic practices, using water for healing. But the imagery itself is strange, almost ritualistic.
And knowing what we know about Rudolf II and his interest in, shall we say, unconventional knowledge.
It does make you wonder.
He's like, are we looking at ancient medicine or something more? Something
Yeah.
alchemical maybe?
It's not outside the realm of possibility. Water plays a huge role in alchemical symbolism, representing purification, transformation.
Right.
And when you combine that with the astronomical charts in the manuscript, the constellations that don't match up with anything we recognize, it really makes you wonder if this book holds a completely different understanding of the cosmos, like their own unique cosmology, maybe even a link to astrology.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. It's like we're looking through a window into another way of seeing the universe. One where plants, stars, and maybe even the occult are all intertwined in ways we haven't even begun to grasp. I have to ask, though, has anyone considered this manuscript might be, well, a book of magic?
A grimoire, you mean?
Exactly, a grimoire. I mean, it's got all the elements. Strange symbols, cryptic illustrations, potential ties to alchemy. It practically screams ancient secrets.
It definitely has that aura of mystery, doesn't it? And while there's nothing that definitively points to it being a spell book, it's a theory that's been floated around.
I bet. I mean, wouldn't that be something? To think this unreadable book might hold the keys to forgotten magic. But even if it's not a book of spells, it still forces us to confront how much we don't know. It's like the Voynich Manuscript is a giant question mark, challenging our understanding of history and knowledge itself.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It really highlights the limits of our knowledge. Even with all our technology and advancements, there are still things out there that completely baffle us. But you know what? That's a good thing. It keeps us humble.
It certainly does. But that doesn't mean we should just give up on trying to understand it, right?
Yeah.
What are researchers doing now to try and crack the code, so to speak?
Well, there's been a renewed sense of hope recently. New approaches are being used, approaches that focus less on directly translating the text and more on the underlying structure of the Voynich script itself.
Okay, now you've got my attention. What kind of approaches are we talking about here?
One of the biggest challenges with this script is that there are no clear word breaks, no spaces, no punctuation, nothing to guide us. It's just a continuous stream of characters.
So how do you even begin to make sense of it? It'd be like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle where all the pieces are the same shape.
That's a great way to put it. It's a puzzle, for sure. But that's where things like computational linguistics are coming into play.
Computational linguistics? Okay, now you're just using big words to sound smart.
Hey, I resemble that. But seriously, researchers are now using sophisticated algorithms, along with statistical analysis, to search for patterns in the text. We're talking about looking for groups of characters that frequently pop up together, or sequences that tend to occur at the start or end of, well, what we assume are words.
So instead of trying to translate the text directly, they're trying to reverse engineer the underlying grammar. Figure out the rules of the road, so to speak.
Exactly. Think about it like listening to a song in a language you've never heard before. You might not understand the lyrics, but you can still tap your foot to the beat, right? You pick up on the rhythm, the pauses, the way the singer inflects their voice, and all those things, even without understanding the words, can tell you something about the language itself.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So by analyzing the structure, the patterns in the Voynich manuscript, they're hoping to crack the code of Voynichese, even if they can't yet read the dictionary.
You got it. And what's fascinating is that this new approach has actually led some researchers to believe that the Voynich manuscript might not be a cipher at all.
Wait, you mean it might not be a code in the traditional sense?
Exactly. It might be something far more intriguing, an actual language, a language lost to time, maybe spoken by a small group of people, a culture that's vanished without a trace.
And the only record of their existence is this one book, a book no one can read.
At least not yet.
It's like they tossed this message in a bottle into a river, and it's floated down through centuries to reach us. And now we're left trying to make sense of it all.
A perfect analogy. And that's the beauty of the Voynich Manuscript, isn't it? It's not just about cracking a code. It's about potentially rediscovering a lost voice, a piece of history that's been silenced for far too long.
It really makes you wonder, what else is out there? What other secrets are waiting to be uncovered, hidden in plain sight?
It's a question worth pondering. And it brings us to why this whole endeavor, this quest to understand the Voynich Manuscript, is so incredibly important.
We've talked about the potential for unlocking lost knowledge, maybe even glimpsing a whole new way of understanding the universe. But is there more to it than that?
Perhaps the most significant thing about the Voynich Manuscript is what it reveals about us, about humanity.
Okay, now you've piqued my interest. Tell me more.
This manuscript, with its strange script and those fantastical illustrations, it forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge.
It reminds us that we don't have all the answers.
Exactly. It challenges those assumptions we have about history, about what's possible. In a world where information is so readily available, where we can Google just about anything, the Voynich Manuscript stands as this powerful symbol of the unknown.
It reminds us that there's still a sense of wonder out there, that there's still so much we don't know.
And that pursuit of understanding, that desire to make sense of the seemingly impossible, it's what drives us forward, intellectually, creatively. It's what pushes us to explore the boundaries of what we think we know.
You could say it's the very engine of discovery.
Precisely. And whether we ever fully decipher the Voynich Manuscript or not, the journey itself, the very act of wrestling with this enigma, has immense value.
It forces us to think differently, to use our imagination,
To consider possibilities outside of our current understanding.
to embrace the possibility of something truly new.
Exactly. It reminds us that even in this age of supercomputers and artificial intelligence, there are still mysteries out there that can't be solved with a simple algorithm.
Mysteries that demand imagination.
Intuition.
And maybe even a little bit of luck.
Perhaps. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, someone listening to our deep dive right now will be the one to make that breakthrough.
The one to finally crack the code.
Wouldn't that be something?
It certainly would. And if that day comes, well, we'll be here, ready to dive back into the Voynich Manuscript and explore all those secrets it's been keeping for so long.
Because at its heart, this isn't just about one mysterious manuscript, is it?
Not at all. It's about something much bigger.
It's about the power of curiosity, that thirst for knowledge that makes us human.
It's about the thrill of the unknown, the excitement of a challenge.
And that enduring need we all have to make sense of the world around us, even when it seems stranger than fiction.
Beautifully said. Well, on that note, we'll have to wrap up our deep dive into the world of the Voynich Manuscript. But this isn't goodbye.
Oh, not at all.
More like a see you soon. Because something tells me this mysterious manuscript, with all its secrets and whispers from the past, will continue to beckon us.
Inviting us to delve deeper, to keep searching for those answers.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows what you might find hiding just beyond the edge of the known.
Because, as the Voynich Manuscript so aptly demonstrates, the greatest discoveries are often those we haven't even begun to imagine.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, happy exploring.